You need a big team. You can't just do this solo. I used to think you could do a trial just locally in Glasgow, and it's cloud cuckoo land. People who think that randomised controlled trials are a pain in the neck, which they are to some extent, and that just local practice registries and audit will do. I think there's no better example than interventional oncology and possibly prostatic embolization to let people to realise that these things are not taken off big time like perhaps they should have done, simply because we haven't done no randomised controlled trials on those procedures. And that's what the oncological world is waiting for and looking for. So I don't think it's good enough now in the 21st century to say that, local practice and my experience of whatever is good enough. It's simply not. Interventional radiology is still quite a young discipline, and certainly when I started, the big focus was on how to do things, how to do the procedure, how to get the device in, and very little was made of actually when you should do it and if you should do it. And I think we have improved immeasurably over the last 10 years. Been all sorts of trials, randomised controlled trials comparing things. And as you say, they don't always show what you want. I always compare it with the poor guy Hans Blix in Iraq looking for weapons of mass destruction, and the evidence was there weren't any. I think we have to listen to real news, not fake news, and we have to listen to evidence. Again, it's a challenge just trying to get people to accept the facts. And what I find quite often is people say, well, it's not my local experience. You may have found in your 1,000 patients this, that, and the other, but my local practice, that's not the case. So we saw a lot of that with the vertebroplasty trials. Negative studies or studies that show no difference are more difficult for the community to accept. But I think we have to grow up and accept that, we don't want to do things to people unless there's good evidence that they do some good, or, one is better than the other, rather than, it's just quite a nice thing to do. And I've been guilty of that myself in the past, of just treating some of these procedures as a technical exercise, rather like when we started doing tips, rather than actually trying to work out who would benefit from the tips. Because that's a more difficult question. But I'm quite positive. I think we are persuading people, and I think the next huge one really is interventional oncology. Not something I really do, but you can just see out there that there's huge potential, but very poor evidence. And when you talk to the average oncologist, they just look at us, So we need to really build a proper team with the oncology, because they're very good at doing trials. They were very good with CAVA, because obviously oncologists were the group we worked with, and they will be the group we work with this massive potential field of interventional oncology. But it needs to be randomised, controlled trials.